So, what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of hours, I'll give a little talk. At the end of the talk, it'll be 40 minutes talk or 45 minutes, and then I just open any questions, last questions, and then about, 3 o'clock, we can have a toilet break for 5 or 10 minutes, a letting go break. Then please be back after 10 minutes, and then we can do the loving kindness meditation. Once the loving kindness meditation is finished, by 4 o'clock, and then we can, we can do good photos. And if, I've been told if anyone wants to offer me anything, if you have a lycee, please put nothing in it. And that's the greatest gift you can ever give me, emptiness. Or whatever. Anyway, so for the talk this afternoon, it's one of the stories another story of course, one of the stories which I sometimes teach, but I don't think I've taught here for a while, was the story of the professor and the old sailor. No? Do you remember that one? Okay, here we go. In the old days, when anybody wanted to go from places like Hong Kong to Europe or to Australia or any other country, they'd always go in a boat, in a passenger liner. So many years ago, there was a man who was leaving Hong Kong and to travel to Europe. And he went in one of these passenger liners. It took many, many days. And on the journey, the very first night, after dinner, he went for a walk on the deck of this boat. And as he was walking on the deck of the boat, he saw this old man. And the old man was leaning over the railing, looking at the ocean on this very calm night. And the professor decided to have a conversation with the old sailor. There was nothing much to do on the boat, so he decided to have a conversation. How long have you been working on these boats as a sailor? And this old man said, ever since I was about 14. I've traveled these oceans all my life. Ah, really interesting, said the professor. You know, one of my hobbies is oceanography. And the old man said, what? Oceanography, you know, the study of the oceans and the currents and all of the animals who live in this ocean. But that's a hobby of mine. You must know more about the oceans and how the currents work and how all of the animals which you see in the ocean, you must know more about that than almost anybody. You've been sailing on these oceans all your life. And the old man said, I know nothing about oceanography. I didn't even know what it meant, that word. And he said, you mean you never bothered to pick up a book or learn about the oceans on which you travel for so many years? Nope, he said. And the professor was quite disgusted. Why don't people learn about the environment around them? And then he looked at that old man and said, you're a stupid old man. What a waste of a life. And the professor was very arrogant, and he walked away. But the sailor was very happy. Nothing really bothered him. But the next night, again the professor had nothing much to do, and the meal that evening was very delicious. So he went up on deck and for a stroll. This time he saw the old sailor man looking up at the stars. And that was another hobby of the professor, astronomy. And he said, well, you can't be so critical of an old sailor man just because he knows nothing about the oceans. He must know something about the stars which guide his ship. In those days they would use the position of the stars to know where they were on the great oceans of the world. So he went up to the old man and said, you must know so much about astronomy. About what? Astronomy, the stars above us. Nope, I know nothing about astronomy, said the old man. What? You spent all these years at sea and you never learnt about these stars which guide the ship? Nope. Wow. What a stupid old man. What a stupid old man. What a waste of a life. What a waste of a life, said the professor, and strode off. He never wanted to talk to the silly fool ever again. But the third night at sea, the meal that evening was so delicious, so tasty, it will put everybody in a good mood. And so when he went up on deck and started walking, he saw the old man enjoying this nice breeze wafting over the ocean. It was just a delightful breeze. And so the professor went up to the old man and said, "Old sailor, I'm sorry what I said to you yesterday and the day before, but I know that you must know about meteorology. It's the wind which drives the sails on this ship. If there is too much of a storm, it's very dangerous for this ship. And if it's too calm, we don't go anywhere. So you must be an expert on meteorology. And as it happens, that's my speciality. I'm going to Europe to give many lectures on meteorology. Maybe I can get some tips from you." And that's when the old sailor man said, "Meteor what? Meteorology, the weather." "I know nothing about that," said the old sailor. "What? All these years at sea and you never learned about meteorology, about the winds and the rains and the storm and everything else? No. You stupid old man. Stupid, stupid old man. What a waste of a life. What a waste of a life." And the professor walked off, vowing never to talk to him ever again. The next night, don't worry, these are long stories, they do have an ending. The ending's coming soon. On the fourth night at sea, the professor never had any dinner. And the reason was, it was a very rough night on that ocean. There was a storm coming up and it was picking up its strength. And the poor professor suffered from seasickness. So he didn't want to put anything in his stomach, it would just come up straight away. And so he stayed in his cabin all night. And as he was in his cabin, the storm got stronger and stronger. And the boat was rocking backwards and forwards, really quite violently. And then he suddenly heard bang! Did I shock you? My goodness, you can sue Biff for employing me. And bang! And then after it went bang, everything fell silent. And he was really scared. And then he heard someone running outside his cabin door. And he opened the cabin door. And who did he spot running outside his cabin door? The old sailor. And the old sailor stopped and turned and looked at the professor. "Professor, in all your years of life, have you ever learned about swimming?" Actually, no, said the professor. "You stupid old professor, what a waste of a life. The ship is sinking." One of the one of the reasons I like that story is because it's important at the end of a meditation retreat. In all your years of life, no matter what you've done, have you ever learned how to be peaceful and still? So you get good insight, you can understand some of the problems of life. If you haven't, you stupid old meditator. What a waste of a life. One of the most important things of life is to learn, as they say, to keep your head above water. So whatever happens to you in life, you can always not sink and not drown. And you see that many times. There are difficulties, disasters, things go wrong. Have things gone wrong in your life? You bet. But then you find wonderful solutions. So you don't sink, you don't drown. You know how to deal with these problems. And I remember one of those problems, which I often talk about. I think I mentioned this story in the in Hong Kong Chinese University, about people who get depressed. How can you deal with depression? And one way I always say is that story of the painter. He was an artist. And then one day when he was going to his studio to do some work on his motorbike, he had a crash on his motorbike. He didn't know what happened afterwards, because when he woke up, he was in the hospital. The surgeons told him they had to do some operation on him. They had to amputate his hand. He was so badly injured. And when they amputated his hand, that was his painting hand. That was his means of work, but not just work to make money, but also to be able to enjoy his life. He really enjoyed painting. He was passionate about it. He really wanted it to be lovely. He was very good at it. And now the doctors had amputated his painting hand. And that made him so depressed that when he came out of the anesthetic and they took the bandages off and he could actually go home, he decided the first thing he would do was commit suicide. And he thought the best way of doing that is going up one of these multi-rise buildings. I'm going to find an office which was unoccupied, go on the balcony and jump off to his death. And so when he got to one of these unoccupied balconies, he looked down and was about to jump off. And that's where he noticed. He noticed on the sidewalk, way down the bottom, there was a man there with no arms. He hadn't just lost a hand. This gentleman had no arms at all. And he was dancing up and down the street for joy. And he thought, my goodness, I've only lost one hand. He's lost not just both his hands, but his arms as well. And he's so happy. You see him dancing. So he thought, why am I so depressed? I've only lost a hand. That guy's lost both arms. He must know something really important. So he ran to the elevator and pushed the button and got down to the ground floor as quick as possible and went running after that man. He could catch him pretty easy because, he had no arms, easy to notice. And as soon as he caught up with this man who'd lost his hand, the artist, put his two arms around him, hugged him and said, "You've saved my life. I was about to jump off to certain death, commit suicide, because I lost a hand. And I saw you got no arms at all, and you were dancing up and down the street for joy. How can you do that? Please share your secret with me." And the man with no arms replied, "Sir, I wasn't dancing up and down the street for joy. I was dancing because I got an itchy bottom. That's the only way I can scratch it. Please excuse me. I don't know if anybody else finds that funny, but I really do. I've got a sick sense of humour. I admit it. But I tell you that. And the moral of that story is, so many things in life, we get depressed or upset because we misinterpret them. We can always look at it in a different way. And that's one of the things which meditation gives us. We manage to see things in a totally different manner. When we see it in a totally different manner, I'm sorry again, here's another silly story. But we talked about it a little bit, but not that in depth. And that was one of the titles of my book, the second book which I wrote. Remember what was that called, the second book? Sorry? No. Good. Bad. Who knows? If you think you know, then it's very easy to get depressed and fed up. But a lot of times, do we really know? Anyway, this was the story of this king a long time ago who loved going hunting. Not a very good thing to do, but nevertheless he loved getting on his horse and hunting and hunting and hunting. And one day as he was going hunting, he actually cut his finger. When he cut his finger, they had many other people helping him when he went hunting, like attendants. And so he called the doctor over and said, "Look, I've cut my finger." And so the doctor put a band-aid on it, not much, just a band-aid, and the king asked, "Is my finger going to be okay?" And the doctor very honestly said, "Be okay. Good, bad, who knows?" The doctor was very honest. When you do surgery, can you actually tell your patient, are you going to be fine now? You've got a good idea, but sometimes you get it wrong. Welcome to life. So please, the next time when you've done an operation on one of your patients and they ask you, how did it go? Please remember to tell them in the hospital, good, bad, who knows? I think you can get away with that if it's me. I will laugh. But if you do that with somebody else, they may sue you. So anyway, good. So anyway, the doctor kept on going hunting because he liked it. When they got back to the palace, the hunt was finished, the king looked at his finger, it was all red and inflamed. Doctor, have a look at this. It's got worse. And the doctor said, yeah, it has. So he took off the band-aid and disinfected it and put on some ointment and a bandage. It only took about half an hour. But then after doing all of that, the king said, is it going to be okay now? And the doctor said, good, bad, who knows? And that was the only doctor he had, so he had to accept that. But then the next couple of days it got worse and worse and worse. And he went to see his doctor again, and this time it had gone black. And the doctor said, oh my goodness, it has got worse. We'll have to amputate it. And the king was really upset. And so after the amputation, the king decided to get his own back. He put that doctor in a cell in the dungeons. And as he threw the doctor in the cell, so stupid doctor, what do you think about that, being in jail? And you know what the doctor said? Being in jail, Your Highness. Good, bad, who knows? And the king thought, that's a really stupid doctor. But then, when the operation to cut off his finger was complete and it healed, then the doctor went off hunting again. And this time, when the doctor went off hunting, he was running, so he always had the fastest horse, running the horse so fast, he got separated from the rest of his attendants. And he got lost in the jungle, deep in the jungle, where few people go. And that was the place the indigenous tribe lived. And it just so happened that that particular day was the holiest day of the year for them. And on that day, they'd always do a sacrifice, usually an animal. But this time they thought, wow, this is really lucky. We've got a human being to sacrifice. Not just any human being. We've got the king. So they tied him to the post and prepared all the ritual for the sacrifice. And they all were really excited. This was something special to get a king to sacrifice to their gods. And so when the ceremony started, many of the priests in that tribe, they dressed up, and then they started a ceremony. And they were just about to kill him as a sacrifice. And then one of the priests said, "Stop! That man has only got 9 fingers. He's not perfect." And if any of you ever want to do sacrifice, if it's imperfect, that's not very lucky at all. Just like if you ever offer any food to me and there's something wrong with it, that's bad karma. And so because of that, they said, "Stop, we can't sacrifice him. He's only got 9 fingers. We'll have to sacrifice something else." So they let him go. They weren't an evil group of people. It was just their customs. So they guided him, the way back to his palace. And when he could see his palace in the distance, they let him be free. And when he got back to the palace, he told the story how he came so close to being executed and sacrificed. And so everyone was, wow, this is a really good story. He said he only survived because he had lost 1 finger. And that's when he remembered his doctor and the wonderful wisdom. And he went to the cell and released his doctor. He said, "I never understood what you said. Good, bad, who knows? You said being in jail, good, bad, who knows? I always thought it was bad. I always thought it was bad to lose a finger. But because I lost my finger, it saved my life. Thank you, oh wise doctor. I'll now let you out, and I'm sorry I put you in jail anyway." "Your Majesty," said the doctor, "you still don't understand me. I said being in jail, good, bad, who knows? If you hadn't put me in jail, I would have been with you on that hunt. I would have been captured by those indigenous people too. And I've got 10 fingers. You saved my life. Thank you, Your Majesty." So good, bad, who knows? What happened to you on this retreat? Yay! So that way, how can you get upset and angry? You don't know what happens and what's going to happen. And has that really been your life? Many things I thought were really good, and they weren't at all. Passing exams, going to university. I became a monk. What use was that? And there are other things. Why did I first come to Hong Kong? Was it a good idea? You still haven't understood. Good, bad, who knows? You come anyway. So you never get upset at people. no matter what happens to you. And don't get upset at yourself. Good, bad, who knows. When you get the big picture, the full picture, then maybe you can see something interesting. But that's what life is. Things go wrong, they go right, totally unexpected. Why do you blame people? Nothing. I know if things go wrong in monastery, I should be able to fix that. But you can't. They go wrong anyway. So I always remember, and I think I've told a story before, about when our workshop got robbed. It was weird because it got robbed in the middle of the day, not at night time. And people saw people taking some of the tools out of our workshop, and they thought they had permission. But they didn't, of course, they were stealing it. You know, sometimes people's mobile phones go off. It's not your fault. Good, bad, who knows? I do, don't do it again. No, I don't know. But what can you do? How can you react? Sometimes you can react with anger. What does that actually do? Instead of acting with anger, you act with kindness, tell a funny story, everyone laughs, and people still will never turn their mobile phone on again during a talk, and also they don't get upset. Isn't it really not what we're supposed to be doing in a meditation retreat? One of the things we talk about in a meditation retreat is wellness. And this is one of my other stories. That's one of my favourite stories, I must admit, of all of them. And this was of the person who was walking through the forest, just trying to embody the spirit of the forest, to be peaceful, to be happy, good air, natural. And as he was walking in the forest, suddenly he fell into a hole. It was an old well, and that well had dried up a long time ago, and he could not see it, so he fell into it. And when he fell into that well, he grabbed, as he was falling down this well, whatever he could on the side of the well. He managed to grab hold of a tree root that was poking through the well. That stopped his fall just as well, because at the bottom of the well, which was dry, he saw this big black snake. And because the snake was disturbed by the fall, the snake woke up, and the snake lifted its head and opened its hood. Oh, come on. You know this story. Trying to strike this man's feet. He was holding on to a root and trying to strike the feet. And then the man sort of saw that something else was been following him as well, and that was a tiger. And the tiger saw him and thought how tasty he must be, and was trying to eat him, and was leaning over the well with his paws, trying to reach him. And as he was trying to reach him, his hand was just a little bit too low. The hand holding onto the root was just a little bit too low. So the tiger couldn't quite reach him. Just like the snake, couldn't stretch high enough to bite his feet. So there he was, trying to figure out what to do next. And as he was trying to figure out what to do next, he did notice his two mice come out from a hole in the side of the well and started to chew on this little tree root poking out. If anything could go wrong, it was going wrong. He only had maybe 10 or 15 minutes before the tree root would get so thin because it was eaten by the mice that he wouldn't be able to hold his weight. He'd fall and get eaten by the snake. What should he do? Good, bad, who knows? What he did notice though, as the tiger was trying to paw him from above, the tiger's backside was rubbing against a tree. And as it was rubbing against the tree began to shake. And as the tree shook, directly above the well, there was a bee's nest. And honey started to drip down from the hive. And he put out his tongue to taste the honey. It was really delicious. And that's the end of the story. Have you ever noticed that that's what life really is? It's work in progress. It never has a tidy ending. Even in Buddhism, it's worse. Once you die, you get reborn again and you carry on. It's episode 2 of life. I don't know, I don't watch TV these days, but people keep telling me all of these hits on TV or movies, they always have episode 2 or episode 3 or prequels. I remember people talking when I was young, I never saw this because I was too young, Star Wars. And they had one episode and it was very popular. How many episodes of Star Wars are there now? People tell me hundreds. 9. You sure? Just 9? You're a Star Wars fanatic? Yeah, I don't know. They keep saying prequels and where this person came from, where the Dark Lord was. Is it Dark Lord? I don't know. Anyway, Darth Vader, where he came from, and who was his parents, and how he became bad. Do they have all those stories as well? I think it's more than 9, isn't it? I don't know anyway. I haven't seen it, so I haven't got a clue. But anyway, have you ever noticed that's what real life is like? It doesn't have neat endings. So anyway, that was the ending which I read, and I thought it was brilliant. But you've known me for a long time. Am I a positive monk? So I made my own ending, which was this. The tiger was not very mindful. He leaned over a little bit too far, trying to paw this man. When he leaned over a bit too far, he tumbled into the well. He missed the man, but crushed the snake and broke his own neck. That was the end of the snake and the tiger. And the 2 mice were so scared, they went back in their hole. And that gave him all the time to gradually climb out of the well and go to safety. Could that happen? Yeah, so why not? That's why I don't worry about the future. I always find, well, if something goes wrong, something nice will happen. That's always been my life. I already mentioned when aircraft are cancelled because of bird flu. Is there bird flu these days in Hong Kong? Not yet. Tomorrow, because that's where I'm flying out. Maybe the aircraft is cancelled because of bird flu. I don't know. Anyway, whatever happens, you can always see something interesting with it. You can't say it's good, you can't say it's bad, you can't say who knows. But life is something which you cannot plan. Honestly, if you'd have told me when I was a young student that I'd be sitting in Hong Kong as a religious figure giving talks, I would have said that's impossible. I was kind of anti-religion when I was really young. and giving talks. I was really shy when I was young. That's what my mother used to tell me, to get me to go into a room. I said, "No, Mummy," and I would cry. Now look at me. If you think that, when I was young I could be a good writer and write all these best-selling books, when I was young, even my teachers were really, surprised. Of all of the subjects at school, English was always my weakest. Maths and science always come in top, but English, towards the bottom somewhere. And if they now knew I'd written these books which were bestsellers, they would turn in their grave. Impossible. Have you seen that as well in your life? How life turns out totally unpredictable. And so that's one of the reasons why that you don't worry. I don't know what's going to happen. And what I do know, though, is as long as you have a peaceful mind, a positive mind, it's usually wonderful things happen. When any tragedy happens in my life, that's actually where you see some beautiful people and beautiful reactions. Like one of those things is that I was going over to Brisbane to give some talks once, and there was nobody giving me dana that day, so this Sri Lankan man invited me to his house, to give me sort of the food for the day. And that was one of the most beautiful dhanas I've ever had. Not because of the quality of the food, because of what happened. When I went to his house, his son came, and I said, "Is this all the children you have, just one son?" He said, "No, I've got another son as well." "What, is he away or somewhere?" "No, he lives in Brisbane." "Why is he not here?" And he said, "We had an argument about 7 years earlier. I haven't seen him since." "That's your son." So I asked the younger brother, I said, "What argument was it?" He said, "I don't know." But the younger son who was there said, "Do you still see your brother, elder brother?" "Oh yeah." "Have you got his telephone number?" "Yeah." "Call him for me." Because I know that in Sri Lanka I'm also very highly respected, and because of that I know that Sri Lankan people fear me. So I made use of that. So I said, call his number. He was at home. And then his brother passed the phone to me and said, my name is Ajahn Brahm. "Ajahn Brahm, what are you doing at my dad's home?" It just so happened that I needed someone to give me a meal, and he was there, so I'm at your father's house having food. And I said, I don't ask you, I said, I demand you come to your father's house now. And then I hung up. And he was too worried, too scared to refuse, so he just came. And so I had the two of them, the father and the son, in the house. They weren't looking at each other. One was looking this way, the other one was looking the other way. And I said to both of them, first of all, to the father, "What happened between you that you haven't actually spoken to each other for about 6 or 7 years?" And the father said, "I can't remember." It was actually crazy. Then I looked at the son and said, "Well, maybe you've got a better memory. What happened that you and your father sort of decided to get so angry at each other that you never met each other or said anything ever since?" And he said, "I can't remember either." It was absolutely crazy. So I said, "Okay, turn around, look at each other." So they did, and then they hugged. The father and son hadn't seen each other for such a long time. And then they they didn't know why. Can you understand that? Life is sometimes crazy. We think we know, but then when we have to tell somebody else, It's nothing. So anyway, they reconciled. And so that was something which I thought, how lucky that was that I managed to go to that house that day. Even though I didn't like the food, but nevertheless, I liked the outcome. And he was just so thankful, the father, that he started coming all the way from Brisbane to Perth to spend a couple of days at the monastery. And when he came, for those of you who ever go to Perth, to Bodhinyana Monastery, you see the tables in the Dharna Sala, beautiful metal tables, to keep health regulations. He just donated those. He said, this is nothing compared to you donating my son back. You can understand what he meant. So everybody became a winner after that. And that's what I say, good, bad, who knows? You never know what's going to happen next. But anything which is bad, which you think is happening, please always remember the good, bad, who knows? When you understand that, you never get afraid. You never get depressed. You never get angry at life. There's always something which happens which you do not expect, which actually makes the day, makes the week, makes your life. And that's why I tell stories like that. Okay, I did talk a lot about the deep Buddhism, about things like jhanas and enlightenment and stuff. Even though I did talk about that a lot, I raised the bar very high. And I don't mind doing that, because when you raise the bar very high, you know that not many people will reach that bar, but in their attempt to reach higher and higher, their meditation and understanding get deeper and deeper. If I don't raise that bar high, you won't even jump even a little bit. And some of you do get close. And that's why I teach the way I do, to the point that everybody gains so much. And sometimes what you're gaining is just like a little seed which is planted inside of you. And then later on something happens in your life and that seed starts to blossom. Just I always say, like those in Western Australia, in the deserts, little plants which have been dormant for years, and a rain comes and they start to blossom. And that's what happens with the Dhamma. All these little things which I've said, a lot of them you think you've forgotten, but when they're needed, they come up. They serve and help you enormously. And when that happens, good, bad, who knows? You actually know it's really good. Life is good. Thank you for listening.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Now, any questions or comments? Oh yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit more about the difference between compassion and loving kindness?
Okay, compassion is spelt with a C. I don't make a distinction, honestly, because loving kindness includes things like compassion. And in real world, I'm not talking about the world of experts. In real world, you can use either word: compassion, loving kindness, warmth, looking after other people, looking after life. That's why I always feel that when we become too technical, with things like meditation or Buddhism, we lose some of its softness. We cannot sort of relate these teachings just to ordinary people. To most people, compassion, loving kindness, sympathetic joy, they all come from the same place. A beautiful heart which just wants to share and make sure other people are happy. And I say that because if ever I make any of you happy, it's one of my joys when people come and say, lovely retreat, thank you so much, Ajahn Brahm. And especially some of you come and say, seriously, Ajahn Brahm, you saved my life. And many people do that. Imagine what that does to you. That makes me feel that my life is really worthwhile. I get happy. By giving happiness, you always get happiness back. And that's a beautiful part of my life. When people ask, why are you a monk? I'm old enough now, I can retire. I know you won't let me, but that's not the reason I don't retire.
Sometimes you see some people suffering, you feel pain.
Yeah.
Sometimes you cannot feel happy, you feel pain. Then you have empathy. Then how to detach it?
We don't detach it. You haven't helped them yet. So you see somebody with pain, you know, I've got such a large store of jokes. There's usually one I can find somewhere. Now I tell them a little story. Your pain is so bad. You know, you're not going to last that much longer. You're going to die soon. You're so lucky. I remember just, if you die, you're going to go to some heaven realm. If you know what heaven is, if you really understand what heaven is, I start describing like a typical heaven realm to the people who are dying. And then they go and see their doctor, and the doctor says, you've only got about 3 days to go. And they go and ask the doctor, can you make it just 1 day, please? This monk has told me all these wonderful things about heaven. I want to go there quickly. So it's like telling little funny stories. I remember the guy who went to see his doctor. He had very bad cancer. He said, how long have I got to live? And the doctor said, 10. 10 what? Days? Months? And the doctor said, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You know, I don't mind telling funny stories. If you are going to die, you die with a smile on your face. Just like this man. And he died with a big smile on his face. And the coroner wanted to know why. And they said he was actually struck by lightning. How can you have a big smile on your face when you're struck by lightning? Because he thought he was having his photograph taken. I'm sorry. But I can't help it. When you had a little bit of humour to life, then life doesn't hurt so much. When it doesn't hurt so much, you're also giving hope to many, many other people. You know, for those people who were born in Malaysia, that monk, Dr. K. Sri Dhammananda, he was really a funny monk. I remember I gave a talk at his place once. It's one of the most well-attended talks. And the title was Ghosts. It's so well-attended, not just by human beings, but by thousands of spirits. And we were just telling ghost stories together. And he told the story, close by. He lives in Brickfields in Kuala Lumpur. And he was invited to this house because I had a very disturbing ghost there. And he did the chanting and it worked. The ghost left. But the neighbours came and protested. The ghost just moved next door. This is true story, I don't make it up. So yeah, he had to chant in every house in the street to make sure the ghost left the whole street, not just the house. And he said that was really tiring. But anyway, that monk, he eventually died of cancer. And then when this is again true. I know the doctor spoke with him. Has this really happened? He said, oh yes. That when he was given the prognosis, he only had a few days to live. This monk burst out laughing. And this doctor had never seen anything like that when you're giving only a few more days to live. Dying? Good? Who knows? But the way he laughed was quite incredible and unique. He did die eventually, again, but the fact you laugh when you're told, your time is over, that's beautiful. And that gives so much reassurance to others. He knew something about death, which many people don't know. So you're told you've only got a few days left, you laugh. I know this other guy, it's another way of actually celebrating a life or holding funeral services. I don't know what they do here in Hong Kong, but in many places in the West, like Australia, you got all the friends and family, they always tell eulogies. Eulogies means good words about their life and what they did and how loving they were. They always actually say just what a great cook they were. I heard that so many times that I wish I'd have gone to their house for a dana. And just how caring they were. And this one gentleman, he decided that why do they have these funerals after you die? May seem a strange question. But then he said, I'm going to arrange my funeral before I die. So he could also hear all these nice words which other people say about you. So, he was dying of cancer, only had a few days left. So he held his funeral before he died. So number one, he could hear all the nice words that would make him realize the value of his life. But more than that, he could actually see all the people who turned up and all the people who didn't, while he still had the time to adjust his will. He actually did that. So you can see it just adds just another side to life, the pleasant side. And it's also being rebellious. It's not doing what everyone else does. You're not like a robot conditioned by others. You make your own decisions and you make it sort of very funny, enjoyable, powerful. It's a good lesson for everybody. So one more question. Going. It's the last time for a question. Just to get that last question. Okay, go on.
How do you find a place of protection when you are stuck in a community of lots of haters and negativity?
Because the compassion is really needed then. If you've got lots of negativity, that's one of the reasons why. I love being rebellious. What's a good example of negativity? Again, when there's a Wall Street crash, there's depression, everybody's losing lots of money. The last time there was a real slowdown I think it was the economy, I think it was COVID. I said to people, how many of you were complaining to me, when the economy was going well? You never had any time to go to temple. You never had any time, to have a rest and relax. So now you got the sack. You got all this time. How lucky this is. You don't need to get stressed out by having to go to work. You got time off. Enjoy. Of course, they thought I was crazy. But a lot of them understood. When the economy's going well, we see all the negative part of it. You have to work hard, you can't take time off, you can't spend time with your family and kids. This is where I developed this one story, and it's a beautiful story. And this was one story which I told in Indonesia on a radio show with a Muslim presenter. I made her cry. I said about the story of this guy who came home from work and his little 6-year-old son was waiting for him. Daddy, how much do you earn at work? And the daddy had just come back from a hard day at the office. Said, look, it's none of your business, son. What does a 6-year-old need to get an answer to a question like that? And then the 6-year-old again said, Daddy, how many dollars do you earn an hour at work? Look, I told you, it's none of your business. But Daddy, how much do you earn? That's the 3rd time, son. If you're going to be disobedient to me, go up to your room, you're grounded. So his little son trudged up to his room, and the father just went to just relax and have a cup of coffee or tea or something. And the father felt so guilty. He shouted at his son, why? Because he was stressed out from a very busy day at work and driving through the traffic getting home. And so he went up to his son's room to apologize. I shouldn't have shouted at you. I don't know why a 6-year-old needs to know how much I earn at work. But because you asked, I earn $20 an hour at work, said the father. And the son smiled and said, thank you, Daddy. Now can I please borrow $10? And the father got angry at his son already. He wasn't going to get angry again. So he took out his wallet and gave his son a $10 note. Thank you, Daddy. And then the son opened a little drawer next to his bed and had $10 in coins there, and counted out $20, gave it to his father, and said, Daddy, can I now please buy 1 hour of your time? Does that make you emotional? It made this Muslim lady, she's supposed to be on air, she started bawling. And she told me afterwards, her husband had left her. She was a single mum looking after 2 kids. And she was working so hard because she wanted to have her kids have a good education. That's what we do. We work hard. But what the kids really want is time. Time with you. And so those kinds of stories, the stories which, when I say them, I get emotional, I empathize too. They're beautiful stories. It's ways of pointing out problems in life which need to be pointed out. Once you realize that, you can fix them. Just 1 hour of your time, please. Daddy. Okay. Thank you for that. I don't know if I answered your question. Probably not. But I made use of it to make some happiness and joy. So now, I promised letting go time. So if you want to go to the toilet, the loo, the first ones there are the first ones to get in. So on your marks, get set, go. I'm very fortunate to have a good bladder. Yeah, I will. If anyone wants to take photographs, of course you can. But in 10 minutes, we'll start the metta meditation. You're welcome. My goodness. It's true. Honestly, no one wanted to take that photograph of me when I was young. Yeah. Okay. say that in Australia you can tell which kangaroos are Buddhist and which are Christian. The Christian kangaroos do this. No, Christian kangaroos do this. The Buddhist kangaroos do this. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Thank you.
That's it. Okay.
Go this way.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
They would like to offer you the medicine because one lady is leaving soon. Is it okay?
Of course that is. Because in Hong Kong, money is losing its value.
Okay. 可以你而家供養俾佢
Is
先
that，true?
你哋供養而家供俾佢先。咁你哋擺喺你睇佢前面。
Wish you everything with all that. Everything. No matter how it's good.
I wish you emptiness.
Emptiness. There's emptiness, nothing else. Where did he got that?
Actually, this is from Fiona. I am giving it on behalf of her. She has to left earlier for work.
To work.
Yes.
She needs the money more than I do.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's really poor.
Very poor. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ajahn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Did Della tell you where most of the money's going?
Last slide.
What did she say?
Last slide, sir. Yeah, I'm thinking that I actually mentioned the place where it went. It's going to.
You can ask her to explain again after the meditation.
Yeah, maybe you should just say it.
What can I say?
Or you can say it.
Yeah.
Can
So,
you pick up your mic?
okay. So this year, when they asked me just any donations, I don't like the donations to go to me or to Bodhinyana Monastery because that's almost like personal. So I always have these projects, and so this year it would be nice if the donations could go to the Anukampa Bhikkhuni project. That is the monastery in Oxford. We've got this beautiful piece of land now and a house on it. And it's incredibly lucky, just again, the way that the land was found, and we put an offer in and it was accepted. And that it's a lovely house. And now you need a little office and a couple of kutis in it. That's what we're going to use the donations for, towards that. And that's, if any of you ever go to UK, you can actually see that our property. It's not that far from Oxford. That's its only fault, I found. Other than it being in Oxford, it was actually perfect. And the only reason I say it's a fault being in Oxford, because I went to Cambridge. But as a monk, you do become tolerant. Just that's one bad brick. As long as they don't get another bad brick, they should be fine. But it's a beautiful place. It's idyllic. And you can actually walk from that monastery into Oxford. It's about an hour and a quarter, which is quite a way, but it's walkable. And it's also very, very, very quiet. A big forest around it. It's a beautiful piece of land. I just need to make sure that it's sustainable. And one of the things to sustain it, to make sure that the Sangha has their own little accommodation outside the house. Otherwise they'd always be busy and being asked to do things. That's why I got my little cave, so I can hide. Otherwise there'd be people knocking on the door all the time. So that's one of the reasons we got this, and I thought it's been nice this year to actually help with the project to build a little office and kuti. So that's where it's going to go. I know that some people have already said they wanted it to go to a Newbury Buddhist monastery, or rather SOS, which is the retreat centre which we've just been building. So anyway, just let you know, none of it goes to me. You see, just I don't have much property. Thank you for letting me be free of it. Okay. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May you live long and be happy. If ever you go to UK, see if you can find out the nuns' monastery in Oxford. Excellent. It's in a place they call Boars Hill, B-O-A-R-S. It used to be where many sort of people who love nature would actually go and live. They may be teaching in Oxford, but they would live over there. Yeah, okay, yeah. But they may not like my talk on metta, so maybe they can offer in a... Of course. Anyway, I did hear that money in Hong Kong is losing its value. No? It's not? Australia's losing Hong Kong. What's 125? I said no, 1-5. Somewhere between $1 to the Hong Kong dollar and $1 or $5 to the Hong Kong dollar. Somewhere between 1 and 5.
1 Australian, 5 Hong Kong dollars.
5?
1 Australian, 5 something.
Okay, that's good enough, isn't it? You got more money? I don't get the money anyway. What about the English exchange rate? The pound? Oh, really? I'm glad I'm not a layperson. Anyway, so let's forget about that. And now, please get stronger and stronger and stronger. Okay, so let's now do this little meditation on loving kindness. So if you can all just be comfortable. One thing about loving kindness meditation, just a general example, is that even the Buddha sometimes described loving kindness as lighting a fire to warm people. And I always like that simile because I can make use of it. If you're going to light a fire, what do you use at the beginning for fuel? A lot of the time we use paper, dry paper, which easily takes the flame. And once you've got that little bit of paper, you can put little twigs on. They call it kindling. I like the word kindling because you might call it like kindling. But anyway, it's called kindling because that takes the fire easily as well. Once the heat builds up, then you put in bigger pieces of wood, and then bigger pieces of wood. And then you have a bonfire there. Once the bonfire is really hot, then you can put wet sappy logs on. And the wet sappy logs, they soon dry out because of the heat, and they too take the flame. That's like your enemies or people you don't like. They need loving kindness the most. And so they soon dry out and they start burning too with loving kindness. And that's how things work. And it's amazing things which can be burnt, even like concrete. I never realized that concrete, there are these like flames which can actually cut through concrete. And that's, anything almost can actually take the flame if it's hot enough. And that's where you find out that you start with easy stuff, you build it up, and it gets stronger and stronger. And it's wonderful to be able to do that. I've never found anybody who cannot be warmed by loving kindness. Even some really difficult people in this world. You give them loving kindness, and it kind of changes them. I did mention one of those. And when you used to take me to that restaurant, Shoreditch, it was actually dedicated to Ronnie and Reggie Cray. If any of you know London, they were some of the worst gang leaders in those days. You know Ronnie and Reggie Cray? You've heard of them? And I don't just hear of them. I met him, Ronnie Cray, in Broadmoor. I went to visit there. Because as a monk you go visit people in prisons. And he was such a gentleman. Other people thought he was crazy and violent. He was one of the most notorious prisoners at that time. And when I met him, he liked me. Thank you for visiting. And what he said before I left, if ever I have a few quid, English money, pounds, I'll send some to your monastery. Being in jail, he couldn't have any money, but nevertheless, he meant what he said. He was sincere. An act of generosity from one of the most notorious criminals, in London in the 60s and 70s. And that's kind of touching. Anyway, let's do the loving kindness meditation. To begin with, I just ask you to do an ordinary meditation. Just sit down, be quiet, and relax to the max. Right now is the most important time in the whole world. Give this moment such importance. What to be aware of? Whatever's in front of your mind right now. That's the most important meditation object. What do you do? The only thing to do is to care for this moment. It's now, it's important. The most important meditation object in the whole universe is what's right in front of you now. And you open the door of your heart to it, whatever it is. In 5 minutes' time, I will start the guided loving kindness. the most important time. Whatever you're aware of, whatever, is the most important thing to observe. It's already here. And when you can relax with it, be kind to it, care for it. We never try to cure things or get rid of them. We're kind and they heal themselves. We find so much peace. And to start the loving kindness meditation, for me the best piece of paper which takes the flame is I imagine a little kitten. I have an affinity for cats. I like them. So I imagine walking down the streets of Hong Kong somewhere and hearing this sound. It's a very sad sound. It's an animal who's in great pain, both physically and emotionally. And I can't just walk by. I follow that sound to its source. In a dark corner of an abandoned room, I can hear this cry. And as I look deeper, I can see these two eyes, these two terrified eyes, gazing at me with fear and hope. It's a little kitten. Again, if you don't have an affinity for kittens, you can use a little puppy dog, a little rabbit, or in our Newbury monastery there's a little fox. A fox that was born of bigger foxes. We would feed it every night. I don't know if that was even legal. You see, this little fox lost all of its fear of humans. It would come and it was so clean and beautiful. I love kittens. It's like a baby, a pet, a little pot plant, a little being who really needs you. To me, it's this little kitten. When I go close, the sound of its voice crying is kind of almost fills me with pathos. I don't know this little kitten where its mummy is, but it hasn't seen its mother for such a long time. And this little kitten has got no one to protect it, no one to feed it, no one to teach it, but most importantly, no one to love it, to care for it. It's alone in a very harsh world. So I realize it's got no one in this world, and how much does a little kitten need someone to feed it, care for it, heal its wounds. And I know how terrified it must be. This little kitten has tried to gain the trust of others and only been cast aside, bitten, hit, chased away. The physical wounds are never as painful as the emotional wounds of rejection, especially when you're so hungry and helpless. So when I see those eyes, I keep that eye contact And I send these wishes of loving kindness. Dear little kitten, I'm a monk, I'm not a cat, but I care for you, honestly. I am a monk, but people give me so many things, and I'm sure I can find some milk for you, some cream, some little fish, and it'll give me so much joy to care for you. And I will never ever hurt you. It's not a promise I make without knowing I can keep that promise. Dear little kitten, allow me the privilege to care for you. And it is a privilege to care for others. And I can see this little cat's eyes start to come a few millimeters towards me. Its head is emerging from the darkness and the coldness and the loneliness of this little corner where it's hiding. And that allows my eyes to start spreading loving kindness towards this little abandoned being. Dear kitten, I will care for you. I care for you now, and it's my honor, my privilege. Please let me look after you. And the kitten comes a tiny bit closer to me. You can see in its eyes the hope is beginning to grow stronger than its fear. But it doesn't give up that fear so easily yet. Many times it's trusted others and been hurt so badly. Even I, imagining this kitten just slowly, millimeter by millimeter, coming out of its safe hole, I can start to see its fur is dirty. I've never seen cats with fur which isn't well groomed. But this one is not just dirty. I can see scabs of blood on this poor cat. It's been scratched and bitten by other animals. It must hurt so much. It's never been taught to know how to trust and how to be safe. It's desperate, in pain, but so frightened and scared. Dear little kitten, I'm a monk. I practice loving kindness. I will care for you. And I start developing these thoughts of loving kindness. And as I develop thoughts of loving kindness, I start to feel the skin above my heart area start to become very sensitive. It's kind of like itching, but it doesn't need scratching. I can feel it tingle. And it's through that I send these like rays of loving kindness out from my heart area to this imaginary kitten. I want to bathe it with this loving kindness, to give it a sense of certainty and security and a hope that it can have, like all other beings, a peaceful, happy life. I kind of imagine the life I can give it. A little cat called Kit Kat, which was my friend for many years in Bodhinyana Monastery. It got so friendly with me, it used to hide behind bushes and jump out at me, just to try and scare me, just for fun. It was playful, like me. This little imaginary kitten, I give it that loving kindness, and it starts to come further out of its hole as it trusts me more and more. And I extend my hand out to it, slowly and smoothly. If I jerk or do any rapid movement of my hand, that will scare that cat, rightly so. And it will take even longer for me to give it that security that it can leave its safe place. Slowly I extend my hand, keeping that eye contact. That's how I'm communicating with that kitten, until it comes out more and more, and I can actually touch it. Touch this little cat with my hand. It lets me. So, wow, thank you, little kitten, for trusting me. I won't let you down. But as I touch its fur, you can feel the clots of dried blood on its body. It's been injured so many times. And see its fur and its skin. There's hardly any flesh on this little kitten. I don't know when it was the last time it ate anything. I kind of imagine what hunger is, what fear is, what pain is like. Imagine what it must feel like. Little kitten, I'm here to help, honestly. I don't ask anything of you. All I want to see is you grow up into be a healthy, playful kitten like everybody else, every other little cat. And when it allows me to touch it, I put my hand as gently as I possibly can under its body. It lets me lift it up. It's no weight at all. And as I lift it up, I bring it close to my chest, close to this tingling sensation of loving kindness, which manifests as a feeling. And I hold it close to my chest. It lets me. It started to trust. I don't try and stroke it or hold it firmly. To trust, it has to have the opportunity to jump away if it needs to. I'm not going to stop that. I'm going to make sure it doesn't need to. And I see its dirty fur, the blood clots on its skin, how thin it is. That will be healed, but not right now. I want to build up the trust more and more and more. Many other beings have let you down. I won't be one of those. And as I hold it next to my chest, I start to spread loving kindness. And I imagine the loving kindness like a golden light, like rays of light coming out of my chest, bathing this body of the kitten with kindness. And I spread it into its chest first of all, and then down to its little tail in the back, down its legs, to its paws. Its paws are just nicely tucked in. They're not, the claws are not extended trying to harm me. It actually feels like this cat trusts me back. And I put that loving kindness towards the front of that little kitten, down its front legs to its paws, up to its neck and its head and little ears, down to its nose. I love little cats' noses. And then to the whiskers, to its mouth, its eyes. Its eyes are closed now. It feels safe enough to rest. Dear little kitten, rest and dream. You found a protector someone who cares for you and who has the ability to love you, feed you, play with you, heal you. And as I talk like this to this imaginary cat or kitten, I can see the tingling in my chest get stronger. I'm building up loving kindness inside of me. And that little kitten is purring. I don't know, maybe the first time it's purred in its life. You'll be my friend. I will heal you, help you, feed you, whatever you do. The little kitten goes to sleep, knowing it's now found a protector. And I also notice how I feel when I give loving kindness like this to somebody. I also start to feel that joy, that happiness of giving. Not giving money, but giving love, kindness, care. And the amazing thing is, the kitten knows this is real. It's true. I will look after this kitten and get so much joy and fun out of being a friend to this kitten. Watch it grow up to be a cat. Watch it grow up to, go all over the shrine. Maybe knock a few things over. That's okay. That's what a cat does. To see it ripping little furnishings. Don't feel guilty, little kitten. All cats do that. And when I feel that little kitten knows it's safe, then I transfer my attention by imagining a real person, someone I know, maybe someone who's having a difficult time in his life. I'm actually thinking about one of the monks now, who's had a difficult time in hospital. I will never say his name. A dear friend, I care for you. Not just because I'm a senior monk, because I know you and you need care. May you be at peace, happy and well. I imagine them as if they were right in front of me. And I spread this loving kindness from my heart into them, into their chest, just like the little kitten, going down to the toes in each leg, each foot, going up their body, each organ in their body, going into their arms, down to their elbows, down to their wrists and fingers. Every finger I give this loving kindness towards. May you heal. May you feel at peace. Going back up to their neck, just like when I do body sweeping of my own body. Now I'm doing that to this friend who is having a hard time. And then up to their neck and their head, their ears, their nose. May you be at ease and happy and feel that you're accepted. Feel at peace. May you be well and happy. I don't just do this lightly, because I know from experience how much it works. As I give them loving kindness, I start to strengthen that energy in my chest, above my heart, and pour it out. I not just sprinkle loving kindness, but bathe them in loving kindness, with all the energy in my mind, all the energy of my life, I give to you. May you get better. May you heal. May you also laugh at my silly jokes. Maybe I'll laugh at your silly jokes. May we be friends, joyful, living in this world, helping each other, helping others. May you be at peace. And now I feel this loving kindness gets even stronger. So now, without opening your eyes, you may cough if you wish, but when you cough, please give loving kindness to your throat. Thank you, throat. Just what you do, throat, is amazing. You take all this food, you take all of this juice and teas and coffees, and you pass it through to my stomach so I can be healthy. You speak, you breathe, and when there's an irritation in the throat, you cough to keep me able to speak. Throat, thank you. I really mean that. You really care for me. When I send appreciation to my throat, I tend to find everything relaxes there, and any coughing tends to be unnecessary. But anyway, now I'm sending loving kindness to everybody in this room. I've known you for a few days, some of you longer, and I can imagine you. And I'm sending loving kindness to you, as you send loving kindness to me and to each other. It's like a web of loving kindness between us. I can feel your loving kindness coming into my body. I hope you can feel loving kindness from me going into yours. It's rays of golden light, healing, warming, inspiring. You know you have a friend, a monk friend, who cares for you sincerely. I really wish that all of your difficulties in life can pass away, at least get lesser. For those of you with illnesses such as cancer, the mind is very powerful. And sometimes, through the power of the mind, especially loving kindness, tumors, infections can diminish. Let me diminish them. May all of you know your value, which is huge. Never demean yourself. May every one of you know your strength, your power, and your own kindness. May all of you value what's truly of worth, not just money, but kindness, peace, service, health. May each one of you learn to accept without fear any happiness which is given to you. May all of you be happy and well. And then from just the few people in this room, I start spreading this loving kindness further. I just can't help but do it. The loving kindness gets too strong an energy just to keep in one room. It goes out to all the staff in this hotel, all the cooks, all the cleaners. It goes to all the birds outside in the sky, all the people who visit, all the friends who took you here in their cars and now back working. May all beings in this hotel complex, it's huge. May all beings in this whole complex also share in this loving kindness. May you never need to feel afraid. May you never ever need to feel lonely. There are beings here who maybe not share the same religion as you, but share kindness with you. May you all be well and happy, at peace, strong, learning the amazing beauty of this life, where other people think it's terrible. You still can smile and give and care. You spread this loving kindness like a golden blanket over this hotel. You spread it even further. This hotel is just in a small suburb of Hong Kong. You spread the loving kindness further. So it's like the sun, it shines on all beings. Doesn't matter who they are. You don't discriminate. That's what the sun does. That's what loving kindness does. All beings. And it spreads even further over to the whole of Hong Kong, over to the island, over to Kowloon, Sha-Tin, to the whole of we're actually in Lantau, with the whole of the territory of Hong Kong. May all people be happy and well. Imagine all the people in hospital right now, suffering with so many types of sickness, are being cared for by great doctors and nurses. To you doctors and nurses, my loving kindness goes to you too. May you realize how wonderful your service is. May you find peace and happiness. All those who are worrying about their loved ones, who may be on the edge of life and death, please know that even though I may not even know your name, I still care for you, as you care for them. Especially those undergoing surgery right now. Give them your energy. I care for you, don't be afraid, so they can receive this beauty of loving kindness. The door of my heart is open to you all. All the people who do these very difficult jobs, policemen, first responders, even those who work in the jails, may you all know that I wish you peace and happiness. May all beings in Hong Kong, not just Hong Kong, in the whole of China, you have friends, relations, loved ones, in so many different places. You have enemies in places too. Don't discriminate. As I said, the sun doesn't discriminate against anybody. It shines lovingly on all beings. May all of you in this great China, may you all be well and happy. Sincerely. It's amazing, the more you give, the wider you spread it, the more powerful it becomes. And you find that even some of those people afterwards, you find you were spreading this loving kindness to people who cheated you, hurt you. It doesn't matter, they need it most of all. And may all beings, not just in China, you feel this beautiful loving kindness go to far places in the world, over to Southeast Asia, Malaysia and Thailand, in Indonesia, over to Australia. And then I just remember all the monks who I care for. I can't be with you all the time, but I always care for you. Caring is something you can always do, from anywhere. I send you my loving kindness. I thank you so much for looking after my duties while I'm here in Hong Kong. And send it wider, over to the rest of Asia, over to New Zealand, say, over to South Asia, India, Sri Lanka. I've got so many friends in those countries. Please receive my loving kindness. As you go further west, to the places where there are conflicts, people shooting at each other, homeless, people who, like that little kitten, have lost hope. Please, don't give up hope. There are too many good people in this world that hope is there with them. As you send this loving kindness, to the Middle East, Ukraine, Russia, over to Africa's, over to Europe. Of course, I send especially to UK, where I grew up. Still many friends and relations there. Over to United States, where many of you have friends and relations. To Canada and Mexico, South America, to the whole world. You spread this beautiful loving kindness, and not just to human beings either, to all beings, including heavenly beings and ghosts. May all beings, no matter what you are, who you are, where you are, may you all receive these well wishes from a few people in a hotel room in Hong Kong. Not just humans, animals, birds of the sky, fish in the oceans. May all beings be at peace. May all beings know you're respected, even loved. The beings you're afraid of, snakes, the ticks over in Australia, the animals who can but don't always spread diseases. May you all be at peace and happy. I found doing that then the snakes never want to bite me. The ticks leave me alone. They kind of respect the kindness which you give by giving kindness back. And as you give this loving kindness so wide, so unconditional, beings of the world, the door of my heart is fully open to you, unconditionally. Don't care who you are. My heart is wide enough to embrace you all. How does that feel? And then you may realize you've left out somebody. You've left out yourself. This being who bears your name. So what I do last of all, I imagine as if I'm standing in a full-length mirror, gazing at myself. This old monk, with all of his faults, sometimes my robe slipping off, eating too much. I look at myself and I say to myself, me, Ajahn Brahm, the door of my own heart is fully open to me. Please come in. I care for me. I never expect to be perfect, no more than any tree which I love in the forests. None of them are straight and perfect, but I can really care for them. May I be happy and well. May I receive this beautiful loving kindness that I gave to everybody in the world. You say that for yourself. Never find fault with yourself. You're not perfect, but you're more than good enough. You have 2 bad bricks. We have so many thousands of good bricks. Love yourself. Care for yourself. And having spread that loving kindness so far and so wide, it's soon time to finish. So imagine that golden light spread all over the world, including me, under the ground, in the air, all places, in the prisons where people are behind bars, in hospitals where they're fighting for life. May my loving kindness help heal you and give you peace and hope. But imagine that golden light being drawn in again. I leave the warmth out there in the world, but the light which created that warmth I bring back. It's like drawing it back into Asia, drawing it back into China, drawing it back into Hong Kong, drawing it back into the Novotel in Lantau, drawing it back into this 3rd floor, into this room. Imagine how intense it becomes. Drawing it back inside your own heart, like a ball of golden energy. Imagine it's hovering over your heart. And imagine your heart like a pure white lotus flower, fully open. The only thing which can hold such pure loving kindness, a white lotus. Imagine the leaves of that white lotus gently, softly closing around that golden orb of loving kindness. To keep it as a seed for the next time you have the privilege of spreading loving kindness to all beings, including yourself. Before you open your eyes, I will give you the final blessing. Nati me saranang anyang, Buddho me saranang warang, etena satchawajena, sotite hotu sapada, nati me saranang anyang, Dhammo me saranang warang, etena satchawajena, sotite hotu sabada, nati me saranang anyang, Sangho me saranang warang, etena satchawajena, sotite hotu sabada. You may now open your eyes. This retreat is now over, but the practice carries on. Thank you.